Hi everyone, my name is Tommy. I'm a staff member here at St. Williams, and I used to be a youth minister a while back as well. I've been married 31 years and I have three children. I have a 31-year-old, and then I have a 28-year-old, and then I have a 13-year-old. If you live long enough, there's a time in which you reflect on the decisions of your life. And, I would like to share today a little bit of kind of like a little snapshot of my life in which I chose another path for my children. And I hope this is meaningful for you, because in my lesson it was truly meaningful for my family. So you see, both of my children were pretty athletic, and they played a variety of sports. In fact, both my children played anything from baseball to kickball to BMX to racing mountain biking, and specifically soccer. Both of my children at the age of 9 and 11 were Division I select state soccer players, and that was a serious thing. Now, one of the things that happened is that when they were progressing in that type of activity, select soccer is very competitive. And we were told a lot of things, and we kind of bought into those things. But then at the same time, I started making decisions for them that kind of steered them into being the best that they could be. Because we all, as parents, we want our kids to be best. But one of the things that I did is that I kind of took that into a different way. In fact, other things became priorities: practices, extra practices, coaching, and then of course tournaments and travel. Right, those became very much of a priority. We ended up with slanted values in our family that was kind of sneaking into some of our languages that we were using. In fact, no fear, and then we were a family that prayed to gain, and I'm not talking about like pray to gain, but pray to gain, which was very different. We ended up becoming kind of separated, not only from the faith, but from each other. Literally, like one day I was in Dallas and my wife and my daughter was in San Antonio, and there would be other weekends that my son and I were in El Paso and they were in Houston. So that kind of lifestyle was something that we were doing for about around 3 or 4 years. Not having faith formation as a priority, except for sacraments, started to wear on us. In fact, we really started to see some things shift, especially with some attitudes. Now, it all came to crashing into one, if I remember, one scenario with a stranger in an elevator. My son and I were in a tournament in Del Rio, and I had just reamed him for that tournament about the lack of performance and things that he was doing. And this stranger was in the elevator, and he actually started talking to me about why I scolded him publicly and why my son was crying. He reminded me about my role, right? My role as a parent. And he must have been Catholic, because one of the things I started recognizing is the principle of being a Catholic family, or being a Christian father, right? He talked a lot about my role as a father, my role as a family leader, in collaboration with my wife, and he also reminded me about the parents being primary catechists, the primary teacher, right? See, the family is the school of love, and the church aids parents to breathe the principles of that school. Now, one of the things that happened is just to refocus, right? We all of a sudden refocused, and we started doing things differently. In fact, we started doing a lot of things differently. And today, things are completely different, okay? The importance of this testimony for you is just to kind of remind you about your role, um, offer you that the lifestyle that I chose really was not healthy in many, many ways. But in the end, my oldest children always have appreciated the shift, right? From praying as a family to praying as a family. They always have shared that with me. Now, are we still an active family? Well, of course we are. In fact, my youngest and I are practicing for a 5K at his school. But the one thing about the lifestyle now that we choose is I make sure that we're on solid ground, right? Making sure that Mass and Triumph together, to be utilized as a solid grounding, right? Because in the end, it was my choice to make the decisions for my children and how we were moving away from our faith and moving away from each other, really. And ultimately, my choices influenced greatly my family. Better yet, the church and youth programming in our church aids parents to be the best parents that they possibly can. Parents, teach well and serve well. I hope to see you around, okay? Peace.